I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf. We got a good one. Wow. So we've got a bit of a serious day. So we're going to get off the normal, making fun of Republicans. Okay, for the most part. We'll still make fun of Republicans. But we're also going to talk about some serious issues. We have the Republican tax plan. We're going to go over that and how it is awful. We have also Kevin McCarthy not happy with reporters. That's the fun stuff. We are also going to talk about Rick Scott lying. I know. His mouth is moving in the video, so obviously you know that he's going to be lying. And, of course, he's lying about Medicare. We have that. We are also, however, going to slightly give a little bit of credit to a Republican plan. What? What has to do with congressional stock trades? I'm going to give some, I'm going to go over it and I'm going to give some credit, but also tell you why it's never going to pass. So, all right, we have that. And then finally, there is a controversy involving a finance YouTuber. Interesting. And his advice, put out a video, got some mixed reaction. I'm going to play you the clip that has gone viral, and I will discuss what he's saying and whether or not I agree with it. So there's a little bit of controversy going on here. Yes, and it has to do with, of course, a certain kind of online business. Interesting. So, with that said, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. All right, so with that, by the way, I just want to take a quick minute here. To talk a little bit about YouTube. So the other day, a couple of days ago, David Pakman released a video talking about how YouTube essentially, in his words, nuked his channel. Now, I think of nuking as like just, deleting it, obliterating it, right? Like off the face of YouTube. That's not what happened. So don't worry, David Pakman's, if you're a fan of him, his YouTube page still there. But what he talked about in the context, and by the way, Kyle Kulinski also covered this as well, is how views are disastrous. Views, recommends, basically channels that are in the news and politics vertical are not getting what they should be getting when it comes to views. Now, you might say it was crappy content or people are not interested. And look, that can be true. I mean, it's not like I always make like bangers, right? And it's not like everybody, makes a banger video and then not every video is supposed to get 1 million views. But at the same time, once you get to a certain point, you kind of expect a certain amount of views because you can see the trends, see where things are going. Plus, you have audience feedback that talks about like, hey, I'm getting served these videos. I'm getting recommended videos. And for the longest time, we've had an issue, and not just me, myself, but I'm talking about, people in news and politics. Doesn't matter if you're, conservative or progressive, whatever. If you're not an authoritative news source, you are not getting recommended. And because of the algorithm changes, you're not getting served up to new audiences. Therefore, stagnant in growth when it comes to subscribers, and also, again, much lower in views, much lower in revenue. So there's that. Yes, there was a massive algorithm change. Ravaging Wolverine says Pacman showed his analytics. They made no sense unless the algorithm changed. This is true. And again, it all goes back to the authoritative changes that YouTube has admitted to making, basically steering people away from independent media to large, more established legacy media sources, your CNNs, MSNBCs, and yes, even Fox News, which cannot be called news. And it's insane that it's an authoritative source, but it's because it has it is a legacy media with a lot of money. And yet puts out misinformation all the time. Yet they're worried about smaller YouTubers, for example, perhaps even myself, since I am not an authoritative source, putting out misinformation. No, I put out the facts when I see it, and then I give my commentary on it. That's the way we do things. And a lot of YouTubers, and I'm not putting myself in this group, a lot of YouTubers that do it way better than the news, than these authoritative sources. And they do it in a way that is smart, entertaining, engaging, and informative. And yet, here is the algorithm that is programmed purposely to ignore them. And so this has been happening for some time. It's been happening for a couple of years. It goes sort of, there's like ups and downs, I guess, to how much it affects people within this YouTube space. How bad the algorithm screws you over. We're all getting screwed over, but to the extent of it changes. And so pretty much we're at this point, once again, where the algorithm is having a very large impact, negative impact on how many views certain channels, certain types of content will receive. And so, again, it is affecting all of news and politics, lefty, independent, progressive media, especially not backed by billionaires, etc. Of course, we don't have the resources to compete. And so it's just one of those things where this is absolutely happening, and it is disastrous. And the overall point is here, since the algorithm doesn't favor us, well, we're relying on you guys just to like and share things. And that's why I always bring it up. Like, share, subscribe, and that's really all that I can do to fight it. And so, and other than that, hope that maybe there will be a change at some point to get these channels growing again. With that said, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was a fascinating look and a reminder that, there's definitely big companies and things that are stacked against independent media, and it's important to remind people so that we can continue to put out the call to action and get people to like, subscribe, and share, and do all we can to continue to spread the message and to keep independent media alive. And that's all I can say. All right, with that said, let's move on. Let's talk about George Santos. Oh. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy lashed out at reporters on Wednesday over questions about serial liar Representative George Santos. Take a look.
He's gotten elected by his district. So, okay, let me be very clear and respectful to you. You ask me a question. When I answer it, it's the answer to your question. You don't get to determine whether I answer your question or not, okay? In all respect. Thank you. No, let's answer her question. You just raised a question. I'm going to be very clear with you. The Intel Committee is different. You know why? Because what happens in the Intel Committee, you don't know. What happens in the Intel Committee, although the secrets are going on in the world, other members of Congress don't know. But I will not be like Democrats and play politics with these, where they removed Republicans from committees and all committees. So yes, he can serve on a committee, but he will not serve on Intel because it goes to the national security of America. And I will always put them first, all right?
There's a lot in there. Okay. Oh, there's a lot. All right. So look, let me give the context for one. So this is a discussion about George Santos serving on a committee, or several committees in this case, whereas Adam Schiff removed from the Intelligence Committee. So I said, oh, I care so much about, national security and all this. I care about intelligence. I care about these committees. Really? Weren't you part of the party that voted against certifying the election? Even though there was no basis to vote against the certification because there's no evidence of voter fraud. But you care so much about security. You care so much about facts. You care so much about honesty. And that's what it comes down to, by the way. Honesty. Well, Adam Schiff, he lied. And so that's why we can't put him on the Intelligence Committee. George Santos is a serial liar. Like, he's lied about ridiculous things. Did you know I was a star volleyball player at Baruch College? Did you know that I also got both of my knees blown out after winning the championship? Never happened. Never happened. He's a complete and total serial liar. This guy's like, can you believe it? Somebody lied. That's why he's not getting on the committee. Bro, your entire party lies. You know what? I'll also say most politicians lie. To hold yourself up as like a paragon of, we believe in honesty here. We love honesty in this party. That's why we're not going to put a liar onto an important committee. Except that, again, Marjorie Greene on important committees, House Oversight Committee, she's on the Intelligence Committee. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She lies about things all the time. Come on. Come on. Again, this shows you lying bad, but only if you're a Democrat, unless you're a Republican, lying good. Again, George Santos, numerous lies. Look, and there's some hilarious ones, as I mentioned before. But there's also serious ones. In fact, the guy's currently under investigation by federal authorities in New York due to his finances. Got some shady stuff, shady contributions to his campaign that may have been illegal. Weird. Then there's things that are just absolutely disgusting. Like, for example, the allegations that he had basically stolen money from a fundraiser for a veteran service dog who needed an operation, $3,000. Once that money was raised, he ran off with it. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. But this is the guy that's held up as somebody, we're going to defend it. And by the way, the only way that Kevin McCarthy would actually consider removing George Santos is if he actually did get in trouble. With a criminal complaint. Or not just a complaint, a conviction. Unlikely to happen. Doesn't matter, because the system doesn't go after people who are protected by powerful people and who have money. And he does. So that said, Kevin McCarthy is going to continue to defend George Santos. He needs him because of his vote. It's not about doing the right thing. It is about politics. Always. And so many national Republicans, by the way, in that very speech, were like, oh, way to go, Kevin. Yeah, showing you got balls. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It just shows you that they don't care about honesty at all. Now, it shows you that Republicans will continue to support the biggest liars imaginable. Him, Donald Trump, as long as it benefits them politically. That's what it comes down to every single time. Okay. Moving on. Go to the Republican tax plan. And we have a pretty good imagination, by the way, but it's pretty bad. So let's get into the details of this, okay? House Republicans earlier this month revealed their tax plan, and boy, is it bad. Now, while for now it has no possibility of becoming law, the details of this plan show you their priorities, and their priorities are, unsurprisingly, to give all the money to the rich. Let's get into it. Now, this was introduced by Representative Buddy Carter, and the bill, which is called the, get this name, the Fair Tax Act. Fair for who? Well, it would eliminate all federal income tax. God. Especially the ones on the rich and corporations. This is the first ones that are going to be gone. Now, what it does to raise revenue is to replace it with a 30% national sales tax. Now, it wasn't too long ago that Republicans were complaining about the price of things. Inflation, Bidenflation, everything costs so much. Why are eggs so expensive? Oh my God. Everything is so expensive right now. Did you know that it's almost $4 for a gallon of gas? Oh my God, only in Biden's America. Those are the same people who are now wanting to slap a 30% increase onto the price of goods. Oops. Again, that's if they get their way. Massively regressive, and since it is regressive, it obviously hurts poor people the most. That's the whole point. And it also helps the rich. Now, rich people, of course, are going to save money because they don't have to pay corporate taxes or wealth taxes or any taxes on any of the money that they have. They're going to save so much money. But Jeff, what about the 30% tax? They're also going to be paying that consumption tax, correct? Yeah, but they're going to save so much more after paying it. It's going to take up so much less of their income to buy, to consume products. They're going to make out like bandits. Poor people, however, so let me tell you, poor people generally don't have to pay federal income taxes. Now, why is it? It's because they don't have enough money. They don't make enough money to pay federal income taxes. And so what will happen with them is that they will get a 30% increase on everything. Now, Carter's legislation, which currently has nearly 24 House GOP co-sponsors, would also abolish the IRS, which will, of course, help wealthy tax cheats, and eliminate the payroll taxes that would finance Medicare and Social Security. So as an added bonus to them, they also would get rid of Medicare and Social Security, because if it doesn't have money, doesn't have funding, the program can't exist. So that's, of course, an added bonus to them, right? So this is their dream bill. Eliminate taxes for the rich and corporations, kill Medicare and Social Security. and increase prices for poor people. They love it. And by the way, other things that would be killed, Medicaid, food stamps, Section 8 housing, pretty much everything that is funded by taxes. Congratulations. The entire social safety net would be absolutely obliterated. Now, Carter, he says, well, that might be a little unpopular, but don't worry. We're going to help you out a little bit, all right? Tiny bit. The plan designates a monthly prebate, which sounds a little sketchy. Prebate.
Sexual anarchy.
Okay, anyway. This prebate for most U.S. households would help families cover the cost of basic necessities. Pretty much effectively replacing the earned income tax credit, which you make from working, obviously, the child tax credit, and other existing tax benefits the measure would eliminate. Now, I mentioned the earned income tax credit because, again, you have to work for that. So poor people, the elderly, disabled, are they going to get this? Probably not. They're going to get massively screwed over, along with anyone else who isn't extremely wealthy. So how bad is it? According to Matt Brunig at the People's Policy Project, it's estimated that the poorest 20% of the public would pay roughly 70% of their income in taxes as a result of the bill's levy on consumption. That's just for goods. Doesn't include rent, bills. But again, the prebate, right? What about the prebate? Steve Wormoff of the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy warned that the prebate would not be enough to offset the financial hit most Americans would face from the new national sales tax. Again, it would be just a tiny, tiny little bit. Think about, somebody chops off your arm and then gives you a Band-Aid. Here you go. Oh, here's your prebate. Hope you can deal with that. No. That's ridiculous. Now, back in, this is what Wormoff wrote. Back in 2004, ITEP estimated that the fair tax was enacted and the national sales tax rate was set at 45%, which would be obviously higher than what is being proposed today. The poorest 80% of Americans would face net tax hikes from the proposal, while most of those among the richest 20% would enjoy net cuts. ITEP, he says, plans to re-estimate the proposal because a great deal has changed since 2004. Well, since 2004, of course, the idea of the flat tax is still terrible. So at least that hasn't changed. It's still a horrible thing. Terrible for the average person, great for rich people. That's why Republicans love it. It gets them, rich people, corporations, gives them everything, and punishes poor people for being poor by making them pay increased taxes. In a consumer-driven economy, which again, even more disastrous, but rich, corporations, at least they won't have to pay any taxes at all, so I guess they'll manage. Look, this is who they are. Okay? It's what they want. And yes, even though at this point it's not going to pass, they're still showing you that if they had their way, this is what some of them want to do. Hey, when people show you who they are, I don't know, maybe it might be good to believe them. Okay. Move on to screwing over poor people. I guess the theme here is honesty. Florida Senator Rick Scott is lying once again to you about who actually wants to cut Medicare. Take a look.
Well, they're not going to be honest with the American public. I mean, they like all they like all the spending. And by the way, there's plenty of money plenty of people make money off of government. When we sell the bonds, Wall Street makes a lot of money. I mean, look at what's happened as we've run up this debt especially over the last 20 years. Guess what? The rich have gotten richer, right? Wall Street's done really well. The DC bureaucrats are doing really well. That's who's making money off this, and that's who's pushing this. So let's think about the American public that is just suffering every day.
That's a flip of what the rhetoric isn't it?
Oh,
like Democrats are looking across the aisle at you as Republicans and saying, we are the ones who care about the middle class and seniors. But now what we're seeing is that's not actually true.
They cut Medicare. I mean, Harris, they cut Medicare. Just what, 4 months ago? They cut $280 billion out of Medicare, and they want to say, we want to cut it? No, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure we preserve Medicare and Social Security, because we can, we should, we owe it to our seniors, but we got to do it by living within our means.
That's the tell right there. Oh, we got to live within our means, which means cuts. But let me just go back to point out how just the fucking balls on this guy to sell himself. I was like, oh, I'm a protector of I care about economic populism. I am such an economic populist. I can't believe rich people at Wall Street would do so well. You don't care about average people. You don't give a damn. In fact, his previous plan, his plan for America or whatever, would actually have raised taxes on poor people, literally, until he removed that section. By the way, because not even Mitch McConnell was like, I may be incredibly evil, but I'm not a complete dumbass. That's a really, really stupid plan. I actually want to win elections, and then we rob the people. So, but anyway, going back to the $280 billion, right? They cut Medicare. They cut $280 billion out of Medicare. Complete lie. He's been doing this same lie for months. Let's break it down, because there is a $280 billion-ish savings. And I actually don't mean it in the Republican way of saying savings, as in, oh, we're going to save it by cutting benefits, raising the retirement age in the case of Social Security, and we're going to, do all that stuff, these tricky moves that actually end up hurting you. No, there's an actual savings, and I'll explain how. Now, he says, again, the Democrats cut around $280 billion out of Medicare. In reality, what the Democrats did is they allowed Medicare to negotiate certain drugs with pharmaceutical companies, and so to negotiate the prices. That was a provision of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, look, I've criticized that in pointing out that it is incredibly limited. There's only a few drugs that are able to be negotiated. That said, it is a change, and it's a positive change, because before, Medicare wasn't allowed to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies for any of the drugs. So, yes, while it's limited, it's still a positive change, but it's extremely limited. So, that said, even the small amount of drugs that Medicare is now allowed to negotiate drug prices on, it will save somewhere between $237 to $288 billion. Not only that, but the effect of allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices for pharmaceutical companies will also lower drug prices for every single person. That's why we need to do it to all drugs. Could you imagine if the Democrats had the balls to allow Medicare, if they could rein in Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, to allow Medicare to negotiate for all of prescription drugs? How much money the government and the average American would save as a result. Again, there is a reason that we pay that we are the only country in the world that pays as much as we do for prescription drugs because we allow it to happen. We allow pharmaceutical companies to rip us off. The greed. But let's get to the point here. The $280 billion that Rick Scott says, oh, it's a cut to Medicare. No, it's actual savings. Literally, the government saves money and still allows for the same amount of care. There is no benefit reduction here at all. The government is just paying less to pharmaceutical companies for drugs. That's a flat out lie what he's talking about. Why would Rick Scott lie about this? Well, look, liars be lying. And he has long been a liar. Okay. That said, the reason that he's doing this today about this specific lie, pushing this lie, is because he knows the vast majority of Americans love Medicare. Well, of course. And the vast majority of Americans support Medicare being able to negotiate prescription drug prices. He also believes that his base is stupid. Maybe right about some of them. He knows that there's a good percentage of them that don't care about the facts. Or are never able to hear the facts because of their news sources or because of the politicians that end up lying to them all the time, like Rick Scott. And again, their media lying about it because it's on Fox News. And so here you have this narrative. Oh my God, did you know the Democrats cut Medicare? No, they didn't. Now, that said, it's not as if Democrats haven't tried to cut Medicare and Social Security. And that's the reality here. Members of both parties are willing to cut it. Yes, it's true. Joe Manchin, right now, you as a Democrat, saying Biden should work with Republicans to do a deal which would cut Medicare and Social Security. It would raise the retirement age, pay out less in benefits. Again, when you raise the retirement age, you are taking money away from the people who put that money in. That is their benefits. That is their money that Joe Manchin is saying we should get rid of. And not only that, but don't forget that during the 2014 fiscal cliff negotiation, President Obama had endorsed and pushed a grand bargain with Republicans that, yes, cut Social Security. There is the Simpson-Bowles Commission that said their final results, we should cut Medicare and Social Security. Why? They don't add a penny to the deficit. Not a dime. Nothing. Doesn't matter. In their, efforts to privatize and the Democrats to, compromise, they said, okay, we'll cut Social Security. Can't wait. It's going to help our friends on Wall Street. That said, Rick Scott's lie is so outrageous, even conservative organizations are calling it out. In fact, here's one of them. This is the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. This is a group created by Pete Peterson, right? Who can't wait to gut the government. Okay, we believe in debt reduction. Yes, we need to cut everything so we can get rid of the debt. Yes, and the deficits. Well, here's what they said. Quote, in reality, the bill's prescription drug savings would save the federal government nearly $300 billion through 2031 without cutting benefits. Lowering Medicare costs is not the same as reducing benefits. Quite the opposite. Many measures to reduce costs for the government would reduce costs for the individuals as well. After combining the drug cost savings with the bill's other health care provisions, Medicare beneficiaries would see decreases in premiums and savings, including through a $2,000 annual cap of out-of-pocket costs. Those are facts. Right there. Right there. Again, I don't agree generally with the committee and their endorsements of policy positions, but they're just stating facts right there. Literal facts. Steve Ellis, president of Taxpayers for Common Sense, another group that seeks to lower deficits, told PolitiFact back in August that claims of Medicare cuts from this provision are just, in their words, problematic, but they're wrong. They're a lie. Quote, those are savings resulting mostly from the government negotiating prescription drug prices and limiting drug price increases to inflation. So rather than taking money out of Medicare, it is reducing Medicare costs. Well, there you go. Again, Committee for Responsible Federal Budget and Taxpayers for Common Sense are correct. And Rick Scott is a liar. A complete and utter liar and a fraud. Speaking of fraud, of course, well, Rick Scott, last guy who should be talking about fraud or should be talking about, Medicare even. In fact, when he was the CEO of Columbia HCA, that company was fined $1.7 billion for, wait for it, Medicare fraud. He is a fraudster. 100%. That is the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. No one should be listening to this guy. Furthermore, again, Rick Scott's plan for taxes is to say, let's just cut taxes for the rich, and that's it. Oh, that's your economic plan. Oh, so what he's doing is he's pushing the old, these tax cuts, they're going to pay for themselves. Really? Did that happen during the Trump tax cuts? No. Did that happen during the Bush tax cuts? No. Did that happen during the Reagan tax cuts? No, it didn't. It did nothing. But again, save rich people tons of money and drive up gigantic amounts of debt. That's what happens. Tax cuts do not pay for themselves. It's just complete and utter fantasy. So again, he's the last person to talk about debts and deficits. He is a liar, a crook, and a thief. Scott also wanted to have everyone skin in the game. Yeah, I mentioned that. That was making poor people pay taxes. The whole point of poor people, the whole reason poor people are not paying federal income tax, and it's not as if they're not paying any taxes, by the way. They're paying state taxes, they're paying local taxes. They're also paying, sales taxes, gas taxes, things like that. The reason they're not paying federal taxes is because they don't have money. Which is why you actually should raise wages. Because that's the way you grow the tax base. Make people pay, get paid more. But anyway. Pink tax. That's another one. Yes. Okay. So let's, let's actually go to Josh Hawley first. I want to leave the YouTuber story to the last one here. So let's skip ahead. Where I actually agree with the Republican proposal. Weird. But you'll see why. You'll see why. Okay. Republican Senator Josh Hawley has introduced a bill that would ban members of Congress from trading and owning stocks. Oh, okay. Interesting. Now, on Tuesday, Hawley introduced the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investment Act, also known as the Pelosi Act. Okay. I can't help but enjoy that. Look, I don't like Josh Hawley. I'll be very clear about that. I don't trust Josh Hawley. I know this bill is going to fail. Too many members of Congress trade stocks. I get it. I still actually like the bill. on its face, on its own, I would have no problem with this bill. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez comes out with the same bill, it wouldn't be any different, right? It wouldn't be. So it's a good piece of legislation. Again, it would ban lawmakers and their spouses from holding stocks or making new transactions while in office. Simple as that. Again, a good proposal. And by the way, naming it after Pelosi, not a bad touch. And look, it's because I'm not exactly a huge fan of Nancy Pelosi either. Now, not because of the weirdo reasons that right-wingers don't like Nancy Pelosi. Like, you normally hear, like, crazy crap about her. No. I'm not a big fan of her because she's a corporate Democrat. And I generally don't really like corporate Democrats. And there's a reason. Corporate Democrats, just like corporate Republicans, will put the needs of corporations and big business and wealthy people over the needs of their constituents. That's the only reason. And again, I understand that it's an unpopular opinion among Democrats to like criticize other Democrats, especially Nancy Pelosi. But I just want to let you know that Nancy Pelosi, I'm sorry, she's just not looking out for you. A lot of these corporate Democrats aren't. And look, she doesn't believe in Medicare for all, which would save, thousands, tens of thousands of lives per year because people would actually be able to afford healthcare coverage. Because healthcare would be free in this country and it would actually save money over the long run. She doesn't want to ban congressional stock trades. And look, the reason is because members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, end up putting their own financial interests over the interests of their constituents because of those stock trades. Also, since they also have insider information. Again, this happens on both sides of the aisle. The majority of our legislators are beholden to corporate donors, thanks to our legalized system of bribery, money in politics, and again, the ability to be able to, trade stocks. Now, as far as Pelosi, it's not just like good politics if you're a right winger, because let's be honest, there's almost no one that is more hated and vilified on the right wing than Pelosi. But again, it's for weirdo right wing reasons and not like, oh, she takes money from corporations and isn't progressive. No, they like that she takes money from corporations. They just hate her because she's Nancy Pelosi. She's really good at just. Let me tell you what, her being a woman is enough for right wingers to flip their shit. Okay, and a woman in power, by the way. And so, yeah, sexism is a huge part of why conservatives hate Nancy Pelosi, whereas progressives don't like Nancy Pelosi because, again, there's that, hey, she takes money from corporations, doesn't look out for us, she sides with corporate donors, et cetera, et cetera. And so, look, understand that the reasons here are different, that progressives are not in favor of people like Nancy Pelosi or corporate Democrats compared to right-wingers. So, that said, Nancy Pelosi specifically pointed out because last year, Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, who, by the way, was a victim of a vicious attack. And nobody here condones that attack. It's horrible, or the conspiracy theories surrounding that attack. Even so, I got to point out that he was doing congressional stock trades. Now, he's obviously the husband of Nancy Pelosi, and so could be able to get insider information to make these stock trades that have made both of them incredibly wealthy. He sold millions of dollars just recently of shares of computer chip maker NVIDIA as the House had prepared to vote on a bill focused on domestic chip manufacturing. Now, Truth Out does note that the financial disclosure filed by Pelosi says that her husband sold the shares at a loss. Interesting. That's an unusual thing for the lawmaker to note on a disclosure statement, so it raises a couple of weird red flags. Now, the publication also finds that thanks in part to her husband's tradings, Nancy Pelosi is worth about $46 million, Other publications, however, estimate the couple's net worth to be upwards of $171 million. She is incredibly wealthy. It should also be noted that NVIDIA was one of the biggest gainers after the CHIPS bill cleared in its procedural vote, gaining a lot of value in the stock market. Now, the other thing, and as I mentioned this before, Nancy Pelosi had originally blocked bipartisan bills to try to ban congressional stock trades. In fact, she said she had opposed the proposal because the U.S. is, quote, a free market economy, and says that members in Congress should be able to participate in that. A month later, she made a slight shift to her position and said that while she doesn't buy into it, she would be open to passing a ban if members wanted to. Well, Nancy Pelosi should be more concerned about what her constituents wanted to do. Polls have consistently found majority support for ending congressional stock trades. You should care more about that. Upwards of 70% of likely voters say that they support efforts to ban Congress from trading individual stocks, and 68% support also banning members' spouses from the practice. She should have been able to take that slam dunk and at least put it on the floor. She didn't want to because it would impact her bottom line. That's what I'm talking about here. That said, do I trust Josh Hawley? No, of course not. No, this is posturing. That's what it is. Remember, Josh Hawley's whole thing is to try, oh, look at me, I'm a populist, I care about average things. No, what you're doing is you're looking at polls and you're seeing like, oh, looks like, the average American really hates it when Congress does shady things and makes money off congressional stock trades. Ooh, I think I'll posture myself by introducing a bill that I know is going to fail. And that's essentially all it is. He knows it's never going to pass. He knows there are too many corrupt members of Congress that are going to, vote against any effort to stop them from making money up the stock market. Them and their families. Especially now that Republicans control the House. There are definitely more than enough people in both parties who are going to tank this bill. And again, don't forget the Senate. If it ever did manage to pass the House, and again, there are different members that do support this from both parties, you still have to go through the Senate. And the Senate is where legislation goes to die, because remember, there is a filibuster. Senate Republicans will never allow it to get through. And I'm sure you would also probably have defections from the Democratic side, like, for example, just one Joe Manchin, but you also have probably Tom Carper, Chris Coons, etc. The average corporate Democrats. That said, it's good marketing, it's good politics. This is playing populist. And it is something that more Democrats should do. If they wanted to, it's right there. Letting Josh Hawley come through, and once again, this is like the third time he's introduced a bill like this. Why are you letting him do it? Why are Democrats not, allowing Republicans to come and introduce these things that are intensely popular? You're allowing these people who are, of course, not on the side of the average person to cultivate an image that they are. A false image. That said, if it ever did have a chance to pass, of course I'd support 100%. At the end of the day, it makes sense. Yes, members of Congress should not be able to be allowed to trade individual stocks in the stock market. It's an insane system that we have that allows them to do so. But of course, the fact that it makes sense is exactly the reason why it would never pass, at least not in this corrupt system. Okay. Move on. Don't worry, House GOP will vote it down. Oh, of course, we expect that. Of course. Kevin McCarthy's probably not even ever take it up. So. All right. Let's see if this is the right one. We have the right video up. Yeah, I think it. A wealthy finance YouTuber has some advice for poor people. Just stop being poor.
If you're a guy in your 20s and you don't have a Lamborghini, you should actually sit down and have like a serious discussion with yourself as to why you don't have a Lambo.
Yep.
Because I realize now that it's so incredibly easy and there's so much money out there, and 200 grand relative to what is out there in circulation and what you can grab, especially now with AI tools that you can leverage like never before, 200 grand is chump change.
200 grand, chump change. Yo, man. Why you got a Lambo? You don't have one. What are you doing with your life, man? It's so easy. AI tools, just leverage. Do what I did. You could be rich too. You know what? Let's have that talk. I don't have a Lambo. No, I'm definitely not 20. Not anymore. All right. So why am I not rich? Let me count the ways. Oh, right. It's because I refuse to step on other people to make money. Yeah, that must be it. Look, obviously this guy neglected to mention that it helps, because he is right. Money is pretty easy to get if you have absolutely no morals or qualms about exploiting other people in order to make money or stepping on other people. See, if you don't have any morals, if you don't have any values, yeah, of course you can make money. I mean, today, like, what I could do, I could become a right winger and start talking about how, like, critical race theory bad, and start calling everything woke. I'd be rich. I'd be hired by like Turning Point USA in like 2.5 seconds. But you know what? I can't do that because that would be dishonest. Because I wouldn't believe anything that I said. And again, that's why just go to what I say all the time about right wingers, and I don't know this guy's politics, but target rich environment. In this field, it can be super easy to make a ton of money. You just have to sell out. But anyway, all right. So now this person that you heard speaking is a 24-year-old named Sebastian Gheorghiu. And boy, has he stirred some outrage. So now that tweet was part of a larger video, had actually received over 9.2 million views and over 2,600 quote tweets, and had prompted heated debate online. So there's a lot of people that said, hey, look, that sounds really privileged, man. Like, you got a lot of privilege. And then other people were like, hey, whoa, he's right. I mean, 200K is chump change. Oh, is it? Oh, is it? Well, look, to be fair, if you do compare it to the total wealth in this country, then sure, technically that is true. However, even though the United States is the wealthiest country in the world, most of that wealth is at the top. It's not exactly evenly distributed or even close to being evenly distributed. Look, according to a report last September by the Congressional Budget Office, in 2019, the top 10% held 72% of wealth in this country. That was the start of COVID. It actually had gotten worse. Now, if we're talking about the top 1%, that's a few hundred people. They hold a third of all the wealth in this country. Understand how concentrated wealth is for people who are already wealthy. And look, research has also found that economic mobility is a lot more difficult than it used to be. From 1943 to 1973, it would take the typical American family about 23 years to double their wealth. But since 1973, can you think about what happened during those years? It now takes about 100 years for the typical American family to double their wealth. Reaganomics. You know, you also had the Great Divergence. But this guy says, oh, no, it's so easy, dog. All right, well, we'll look at how he built his wealth. But first, this clip appears to have been taken from a longer version shared to his TikTok account on January 13th, where he could be heard saying this, quote, people will say I'm out of touch with reality, and they could suck it. It's not true. Oh, really? Wow. He says, I've seen a lot now, and I'm like, okay, so 200K is literally pocket change. That would save so many people's lives. $200,000. But okay, look, I don't necessarily think he is out of touch with reality. No, I think he's very aware of reality. He just shames poor people. That's it. Now, he also, by the way, responded to some criticism of his comments, just to show you exactly the kind of attitude this guy takes. Quote, stop being so lazy. Watch my content and learn something. I know 18-year-olds that come from a poor family that made $200,000 a month. You can laugh all you want, but you're the one pissing your life away. They do anything they want. You don't. Who's the loser? So, yeah, definitely an entitled mentality here. Okay. And definitely doing poor shaming. So now this guy, apparently at one point in his life, he was poor. He was working at Taco Bell. So what happened? What changed? According to Insider, Gorgiou has over 830,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, where he regularly uploads videos on the topics of making money. One of his most popular videos, which have received over 2 million views each, he said he became successful in 34 days after launching an online business, turning $300 into $100,000, and went from $1,000 to $8 million. So how did he do that? Well, one word, drop shipping. Now, if you've never heard about what drop shipping is, well, I'm going to explain it to you, okay? So now, a drop shipper basically is a middleman. They will go online, they will find products, usually through the Chinese e-commerce platform AliExpress, that they will then, well, first they have to discover, okay, what's in demand. Then I'm going to go to this Chinese website and I'm going to buy it, mark it up, and deliver it to the intended recipient. That's it. So they use Shopify to create a website to sell the product and social media to market it. They also could post a Facebook page to try to start a trending hashtag. They could go to online stores like Wayfair, which, by the way, Wayfair also is a drop shipper. Once the order is in, the drop shipper buys a product from the Chinese site, sends it directly to the buyer, minus the markup, which of course he keeps, or he or she. They never make, touch, or ship the product. They pitch, sell, and order. That's it. That's all they do. He is a glorified middleman. He is the person. I remember growing up and I remember seeing all these commercials. Cut out the middleman. We got to get rid of the middleman. There's no middleman here. This guy's bringing middleman back. And not just him, but, you know, all the people who do drop shipping. They're middlemen. That's all they're doing. So again, buying, in this case, Chinese goods and reselling them at a markup. It is so easy, even a scumbag can do it. Well done. Well done. You're a middleman. Look, again, I'm not saying all drop shippers are bad people. That's not what I'm saying, right? This guy, though, definitely seems like a scumbag. But most drop shippers, there are some issues with that, okay? First, they don't have relationships to manufacturers. So, in that case, if the manufacturer is a crappy company, then you're basically going to send out junk products that you're making money off of. Now, secondly, considering how it is Chinese made specifically, there is a good chance that they're using labor that may have been exploited. And by the way, that's true with Amazon, that's true with Walmart, it's true with a lot of these giant corporations. So let's be fair about that. You have these big corporations like Walmart that base a lot of their manufacturing in China. That just because you're a smaller independent business does not mean that suddenly exploitation is good because you're doing it. No, you're doing the same thing. That said, this guy's not a genius. He's literally doing nothing but buying and reselling stuff and doing some marketing. Something that anybody could do. So I guess he's right that it is very, very easy. Yes. Yes, when you don't have to make anything. Yeah, it's easy. You didn't do all that much. Again, and that's if you don't care if you're exploiting Chinese labor, as well as possibly screwing your customers over if the source company that you are sourcing your supply from does make terrible products. And sometimes they don't, to be fair. And sometimes, the companies themselves don't exploit their labor force, and that's fine. But that said, we'll talk about the markups. Markups could be absolutely insane. One dropshipper on Instagram had sold a dress for anywhere from $60 to $120. There's a range, right? The same dress was found by a reporter for $26 on AliExpress. Now, the other issue with dropshipping is that it does threaten local small business owners. They have to contend with copycat designs because we all know that, yes, there are Chinese manufacturers that do a lot of copying. Copycat designs, and of course, they can undercut U.S. sellers, lower prices. And so, look, that has a large, effect on the local economy. That said, there is ways that you can do this, drop shipping itself, in a way that is not exploitative. And you could, have a relationship with the direct from manufacturer. You could be a reseller on that. But again, I don't think that's what's going on here. Now, there's another way that some drop shippers also make money, and that's when they have their social media. Specifically, if they have a YouTube. They could charge people to enroll in a course that will teach them how to do drop shipping. To be a middleman. Now, there's other things, other issues. Again, if you start any business, there's no guarantee of winning. There's no guarantee of actually making money. Going back to a statement, oh, God, dog, it's so easy. You should have a Lambo by now. Anybody could. No, there's actually a pretty high failure rate for these kinds of businesses as well. And yes, there are also successes. Again, looking at how much money he makes, there's definitely a success story here. That said, exploitative and dubious business practices. Definitely. But again, that's not what irritates me the most. And yes, it does irritate me. But it's the entitlement mentality. It's how he's going after and mocking poor people. That's the big problem here. I did it, you could do it too. Why haven't you, fucking loser? No, you're shaming people for not, using this dubious big business practice, which is not illegal, by the way. It's perfectly legal, but it's pretty dubious. Look, if the guy wants to set a real good example, and maybe he will, but I doubt it, but maybe he could. Set up a worker co-op. Yeah, pay your employees a fair wage, give them stock in your company. Ethically source your goods. I know, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. I get it, right? But you could try to do it the best that you can. Now, the reason that I don't think that this person's going to do it is because, well, it's the right thing to do, and it's actually hard. It's harder. It's much easier just to tell people to buy a Lambo and then shame poor people for being poor. And unfortunately, that's what's going on here. This guy could be a person who could be like, hey, I started out this way. Yes. Then I saw a lot of problems here in this business model. So I changed the business model to be much more fair, less exploitative, et cetera, et cetera. And this is how you could do it too. He's not doing that. Instead, he's getting super, super pissy and defensive over statements that made him sound like a real douchebag. Okay. Basically, Ravaging Wolverine says basically it's, what is it? What is it? I lost a comment. Hold on. Good comment too. Oh yeah. It's basically I won the lottery, so why didn't you? True. True. It's like getting a small loan of $1 million from your dad. There's no ethical sourcing under any form of governance, since even with socialism / communism, capital investment is needed. You could do the best that you can. And, that's all I'm trying to say. Do the best that you can. And I don't think that this person is doing that. Let's see. I work damn hard just not to be broke. That's pretty much everybody. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Gato Man 196. I'm a skim bag? Okay. Sure. Whatever you say, my friend. I think we found the chud here. Okay. Let me get that off the screen first. And then I'll read some super chats if I have any. First, before I do that, Occam's Taser, thank you for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Let's see. Nope, no super chats today. Please like and share the stream. If you haven't already, again, helps us out. Algorithms, all that stuff. Let's see. LOL skim bag. Yep, that's right. Solve a problem for people, make a living. That would be nice. Just shows how buying shit and showing off is the national pastime. Unfortunately, true. Let's see. You're definitely going to expand things slower if you're doing things more ethically. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's almost as if you're incentivized to step on as many people as possible in our system, on our economic system. So yes, you're absolutely right. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Ravaging Wolverine also says we can all be drop shippers. Let's see. Often these are knockoff items that are crap. They sell them under false pretenses. People fall for these items, but they lied to about the product. Yep. That is definitely something that happens as well. If everyone became a drop shipper, there would be no money in it. Middlemen for dummies. All right. So, look, again, thank you for the comments. Appreciate that. And thank you for the very kind $5. Love life on Super Chat. So, appreciate that. Yeah, let's all flip houses. Let's all learn how to code. Remember that? Learn to code. Just, stop doing poor financial advice. The one thing that I was actually surprised of when reading the story was the fact that this was not. Because in most cases, the people that are saying these stories are like, yeah, I started this business from scratch. I got a small, I only was able to live in my parents' condo, so I didn't have to pay any rent, and I had my college paid for. No, not in this case. The guy seems to have actually went from rags to riches. It's just too bad he's got such a shitty attitude. towards other people who haven't made it. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for going around the nation today. Please like and share the stream. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Another great show. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
I will eat your ass.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
It's not a salami sandwich.
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.